Voice for Women and Girls' Rights Project is a project by Journalists for Human Rights, and it's funded by Global Affairs Canada. The project itself focuses entirely on media development and training of the media, civil society, government partners on gender, and particularly the voices of women and girls.
The biggest achievement we've made at JHR in Kenya has been supporting the Nairobi County government with its sexual and gender-based violence bill. We realized that a huge component on public participation was missing, so we brought together stakeholders from different sectors, journalists, civil society organizations, the government itself, members of the Nairobi Metropolitan Services to review the bill, whereby we provided input into the bill, which has now been assented into a law. And now this bill is important because, first of all, it's the first bill in the county to be enacted that is seeking to address sexual and gender-based violence adequately. And then secondly, it also does provide for mechanisms for support to victims, as well as redress opportunities and financing to support programs on gender and sustainable development goals that are geared towards ending sexual and gender-based violence.
Today I was here for the seminar organized by JHR. It has been a two-day seminar that is quite intensive in terms of what they offer for journalists, because basically this teaches us that in as much as we write stories, there's a way we can bring stories to life through human rights policies.
The other thing has been us supporting the media industry come up with mechanisms to address sexual harassment. Sexual harassment is a rampant issue in our society, but in the media sector it has gone unabated. And we're working with the Association for Media Women in Kenya to come up with solutions that will see the industry take a proactive role in ending sexual harassment. Most of the solutions are policy-backed, and they will look at both the policy issues as well as redress mechanisms and providing safe havens for survivors of sexual harassment.
I'm really impressed by the training that we have been taken through that really focused on addressing the issue of sexual harassment in the newsrooms. We now have a better understanding about sexual harassment, some of the ways in which it is depicted. Some of us didn't even know that what we thought was basic, normal behavior actually qualifies to be sexual harassment. But most importantly, we now know the avenues to address this particular vice. Like in case you find yourself as a victim or you witness a case of sexual harassment, then we know that there is hope, and there are organizations and structures that are already in place actually that can be explored to address this vice in the newsrooms. We've talked about how it is impacting the career growth for women journalists, especially those who are just new and coming into the industry, and why it is really important for society to address this vice as soon as yesterday.
We had a meeting that brought together civil society and journalists, and in this particular meeting we were trying to work on the linkages and the synergies between the two groups.
After we got some media people through the trainings from JHR, our story was enlightened in the Nation newspaper, and actually I received a lot of calls for people wanting to know more about us, and actually a group that came to donate food here. There are some girls who enrolled here through seeing our story in the Nation paper.
We have been able to be covered by various media, including TV stations, radio stations, the print media, through the forums organized by JHR, and this has really impacted our work. Now that we do advocacy work, media really plays a very key role in amplifying our efforts because it increases our visibility.
As a follow-up to that, we usually have story grants that we give to journalists, and the story grants to support and to ensure that more grassroots stories are being told about women and girls.
JHR has been really helpful, and I feel more useful as a journalist when I can do a story that brings change, not just a story that gives you blunt information. Two people are shot, so they died. But there's this girl somewhere stuck in Samburu and she really needs education. Then a week or so later, you hear the government did something or an NGO or someone did something. So I can say JHR, VWGR, they have been very helpful and supportive in me, not just meeting my target for stories, but in knowing I touched a life somewhere.
Through the story grants that I've received with JHR, I remember there's a story I highlighted about a lady who is a cancer survivor, Jen Francis, and after I highlighted the story, it went viral. And I remember I had a chat with the Cabinet Assistant Secretary, Health Ministry, that is Dr. Mercy Mwangangi, and even she had a chat with Jen Francis on some of the measures that the government plans to help any cancer patient or the survivors.
And from these, we've actually seen one of our journalists win an international award from a story that we gave a grant for and to